supposed to be all one piece. She done sheared her off. This nut was loose when I first started digging into it. There's a lot of pieces, like them 2 vanes there, that are gonna be in my intercooler or in the intake valves. Find that kind of funny. Just hold that seal in there with a friction disc. These things are all broken. It's the bushing, thrust bushing. This guy, pretty done. He was and so like that. So that's the exhaust side. This is the gasket between the so this is in here like so. This guy's on here. So he's got like a seal, crush seal, and then this would sit on top of that, and it's all held together with them. So yeah. Of course, he's got some missing pieces too, but the only reason he didn't go down the exhaust pipe is because on these, that cannot physically get out that side. Otherwise, he would be down in the exhaust pipe somewhere. Not a fan of these turbos. I've not read real great things about them. And, well, 3,500 RPM, 1,400 degrees of EGT, and pop. 110 miles an hour. Apparently, it was more than it wanted. This one is supposed to be, let's see. I'm sure I'm measuring this wrong, but at least you get an idea. Let's go into kind of a rough idea of how big it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's pretty close to what I was reading. These are 59 mil inducer. The exducer, I think, is 68 or 69 or something, which that looks to be close. And they got this stupid big ass flange on them. Which I think this is like 4 3/8 inch. Let's see, yeah, basically 4 3/8 of an inch. And it's pretty thick, but trying to find clamps for this is ridiculous. The pipe on the downpipe. I could never really get it to seal real well because I could never get a clamp that would fit that. And this ring is actually something that I had to cut because the ring they had on there was 4-inch. Of course, I ground most of the old ring away, but I built this new ring with a hole saw, and then I clamped it on a bolt and ran the bolt around with it centered up against a grinder to get the outside circumference as close to perfect as I can get it without a lathe. And then hold sawed the middle out, which doesn't have to be as accurate because that's, you know, where I welded it, so I didn't have any weld on the outside. And it's sealed okay. I have an exhaust brake on this, which doesn't really work all that well, just simply due to the fact that it's vacuum actuated, and that's the solenoid for it there. This bigger line here goes down to the vacuum pump that's on the back, or I should say on the front of the power steering pump down there. So, you know, the vacuum on these Cummins not super amazing. This thing was kind of misfiring right after it blew up the turbo. I'm thinking probably because of all the crap that went down the intake and oil. And as you can see, of course, oil, that's a little bit of the lot of it that came out of the exhaust. And I do believe my exhaust ports probably got a little toasty, probably were red hot. You know, that whitish color, indication of high heat. And another indication of that fact that they got pretty hot, so you can get my flashlight to sit here, is apparently it's not working. Get you guys down here. It's draining out of the exhaust ports. The oil is. I don't know if that's from what it ate coming in the intake, or if there's actually cylinder head damage where it's leaking oil past the exhaust valves or something. Those obviously are probably warped and not sealing very good anymore. But yeah, rip the intake off and the valve covers, make sure that my valve lash still looks okay, so that will tell me if I have any valve issues. And I can also look at my I'll run a bore scope up these cylinders on the runners on the exhaust manifold, see if I can see any oil dripping out of the exhaust seals, exhaust valve stem seals. And of course, I don't want to run the engine with all the junk that's, I'm sure, in the intake. So if it all looks good, then I'll fire it up and get it up to operating temperature after I figure out how to block this off my oil feed. I don't know if I'm going to do it there or just make a block off for this, but run it and see if it's healthy enough to warrant putting a turbo on, because I can find one here on Marketplace for like $350, an HX35, which I can actually get a manufactured 4-inch downpipe for, and I believe they are 52 millimeter inducer and 64 mil exducer. And they're going to spool a lot better than that turd did. This was I think it was an 8.0 housing. I haven't seen any numbers on it. Just the research I was doing, I think they said it was an 8.0 housing. But it spooled pretty dang slow for being a little turbo. I don't know if that has something to do with this Garrett style, you know, the Garrett style bolt-on cover or what all. You know, it's a divided scroll. It should have been able to spool pretty good, I would have thought. There's little pieces of probably not going to want to come out. If I can get that out of there and see what it is, I'll show you. So it's this little metal ring. That I'm thinking either came out of them grooves or I don't know, hard to say. Regardless, this little guy, I think that is a piece of the impeller wheel that was in the exhaust turbine scroll, which means, because I don't think it's too thin to be focus. I think it's too thin to be the turbine chunks. I mean, it's aluminum too, so I believe that is some sort of compound carbon something or another, and this is aluminum, just judging by weight. But I believe this is a piece of the turbine wheel. Let's see if I can find it. See, they're a lot thinner. But what that would mean is that he made her all the way through the cycle, through the intercooler and all that, back into the exhaust side. So that's not great, but is what it is. So I went through it, the valve adjustment, looking at the lash, and it all looks very close to what I set it to. And the intake, there isn't a bunch of pieces or nothing in there, so I would say it was mostly just breathing oil. Most of the pieces, more than likely, like typical, got caught by the intercooler. So that should be fun to see when we take that out. But it lost about 6 quarts of oil out the exhaust and burning it. Everything else looks okay. I know when it just happened, I shut it off and I coasted down an old back road for a while, getting closer to my house instead of staying on the highway. And of course, turning left and right and doing whatever. It actually puked a bunch of power steering fluid out because the engine wasn't running. I was just coasting with the key turned ahead, but I thought, oh no, there's oil dripping from the front of the motor like crazy. Might have windowed the block or something, but I don't think that was the case. I think it was just the oil coming out of that. I know this thing does have a front main seal leak and oil pan leak, but it doesn't usually drip like that. So I guess I'll set you guys up here one way or another. Yeah. Now, of course, there's no exhaust hooked up or nothing, so this is probably going to be pretty loud and smoky. It's still going to be burning oil off. So it's really not now when it was hot and burning the oil out of the turbo, it's pretty blue, white smoke coming out of it. This is more, you know, old diesel engine smoke. Definitely shaking a little bit. And this thing is always, when it was cold, it had a tick to it. And it doesn't idle real smooth when it's cold, but as you warm it up, it gets smoother. So chances are it's about the same condition it was internally. Valve covers on it or nothing, but this is from the bottom end. This is up above. Of course, there's air there, but even when it first happened, I took that off of there and started it, and of course, smoking like blue blazes, but there wasn't that much blow by, even when it was at full operating temp right after it happened. It just had a bit of a misfire, which I think was due to it consuming a bunch of its own oil. think it's worthwhile putting a turbo on. It still seems... doing that because it's got no turbo on it. It doesn't have enough air for how much fuel's going in it. Without its manifold on before, or turbo on before. Not sure what exactly they're going to act like, but it's definitely got, I mean, it's not real smooth, especially right there, but I think it might have something to do with the way the injection pump is set up and the injectors that it has, and it's got pretty big injectors in it. I'm not sure what they are, but they're way bigger than what this truck is really set up for. Kind of slobbers. Smoky. A little hard on the eyes. So, like I said, it used about 6 quarts of oil with what it pooped out the exhaust and what it ate. And the coolant is up full level, just like I had it. It's still green. It's not discolored or milky or nothing. The oil, same nice black color. No milkshake. So I don't think there's any crack in the head or anything like that. I think at the most it may have, we'll have to see once I get a turbo on it and actually start testing on it a little bit more and putting it under load with boost. So new turbo, clean the intercooler or replace it. And then give her a test. It definitely did not drop a valve, and it definitely is making good compression. what I think I'll do is I'll unplug my fuel shutoff solenoid and we'll crank it over with the starter and see how the compression sounds. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do next. Because it's pretty much getting to operating temp now, so. Unplug that fuel solenoid. See how it cranks over, how consistent it is. Yeah, I would say we got pretty even compression because it's not loping or nothing, so. All right, well, once I get some parts ordered and I'll rip this intercooler out of here, see if it's cleanable or if I need to replace it. We'll be back. Driver's side intercooler boot. Yeah, I'd say it needs clean. So, this is third gear, and I'm getting a bad pop and clunking noise when I'm in third. It's very aggressive, very bad. And I was like, what on earth? That doesn't really look that bad, terrible wise. I mean, metal's been going through these, but it really didn't look too terrible. But if you look down in there at the counter gear, you can see those two teeth are gone. So, yeah, that'd make a pop and clunking noise. They're hiding out somewhere in here. But, yeah. Stink pot. Everything was going nice until that happened.